You know what's strange about love? Sometimes the things that make someone miss you, want you, even obsess over you aren't the loud moves. They're not the grand speeches or the dramatic walkouts. They're quiet, almost invisible. They happen in those tiny moments where you decide, without announcing it, that you're no longer trying to prove your worth. And that's where the shift begins. I want you to picture this. A woman sits on the edge of her bed late at night, phone in hand. Her thumb hovers over his name. She wants to send that one last message, the one that says, "I just need to know where we stand." She's written it and deleted it 3 times. Every nerve in her body is screaming, "Don't leave it like this!" But somewhere deeper in that place, just beneath the noise, she hears another voice, a quieter one. And it says, "No. Let him feel the space." She doesn't hit send. She turns off the light. And that's the night everything changes. Because here's what most women don't realize. Men notice absence in a way they don't notice presence. When you're always there, ready with the reply, the reassurance, the emotional labor, they don't question it. It's like breathing to them. But the moment you pull back, without anger, without drama, something starts to itch at their mind. I learned this truth from a friend, Naomi. Naomi was the kind of woman men noticed in a room, but not always for the right reasons. She had this big, generous energy, the type that makes you feel like you've known her forever. But she'd pour it out so fast, so unfiltered, that men would drink their fill too soon. She'd meet someone, and within weeks, she was rearranging her schedule, canceling nights out with friends, bending herself into shapes to fit his world. And every time, she'd end up right back at that edge of the bed moment, phone in hand, wondering why he seemed less interested. Then came Daniel. Daniel was different, or so she thought. For the first month, it felt electric. He called, he planned, he was present, but then the slow fade began. The delayed replies, the canceled plans, the vague excuses about being busy. Naomi felt that familiar panic rising in her chest. But this time she did something she'd never done before. She didn't fight it. She didn't send the long message explaining how she felt. She didn't post a pointed quote on Instagram. She just shifted. She kept living. She went to brunch with her friends. She wore that red dress she loved, even though she wasn't going to see him. She laughed too loud at dinner, took herself to a gallery, booked a weekend trip with her sister. And when Daniel texted 3 days later, "Hey, you've been quiet," she just smiled. "Yeah," she said, "I've been busy." That was the quiet move, not the silence itself, but the energy behind it. She didn't pull back to punish him. She pulled back because she was filling her own life again. And here's the thing. Men can smell the difference between punishment and peace. Punishment smells like tension. Peace smells like mystery. See, when you're not chasing, he starts to wonder where your attention is going. And the truth is, your attention is the most valuable thing you have. When you give it freely, constantly, without pause, it loses weight. But when you place it carefully, when you guard it like the rare currency it is, it becomes magnetic. I remember asking Naomi how it felt that moment she chose not to hit send. She said it was terrifying at first, like standing at the edge of a cliff with no safety net. But then something surprising happened. She realized she wasn't falling, she was standing. Firm, and that strength, that groundedness, started to feel better than his approval ever had. If you've ever been in that place, checking your phone every hour, analyzing every word he says, you know how consuming it can be. It's like your whole nervous system is tuned to him. But imagine what happens when you tune it back to yourself. Imagine the space that opens up when you stop performing for his attention and start living for your own joy. That's when the quiet move becomes irresistible. Because obsession doesn't grow from being fed constantly. It grows from wondering, from missing, from imagining what you're doing when you're not there. Men don't lie awake at night thinking about the woman who always answers. They lie awake thinking about the woman whose absence they can feel. And here's the truth I need you to hear. This quiet move, it's not about manipulation. It's about recalibration. It's about breaking the cycle where his interest dictates your value. It's about shifting the balance so your life is the center and he's the one rotating around it, not the other way around. The first time you try it, it might feel unnatural. You might feel the urge to fill the silence with explanation, with reassurance, with one more attempt to be understood. But what you're really doing in that silence is teaching him to feel the weight of losing your presence. And for the right man, that's when the pull begins. Naomi told me Daniel didn't just come back, he came back different, more intentional, more curious. But here's the twist. By the time he did, she wasn't the same woman waiting for him. The quiet move hadn't just made him notice her, it had made her notice herself. And that, my friend, is the real magic. There's a moment every woman faces when she tries the quiet move for the first time. It's the moment where the silence stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like a risk. Your heart beats faster. Your mind starts spinning stories. What if he forgets me? What if he never calls? What if this was my only chance? That's the test. That's where most women cave, not because the quiet move doesn't work, but because they mistake discomfort for danger. But let me tell you about Rachel. Rachel was a slow burn kind of woman. Not flashy, not the loudest in the room, but unforgettable once you really saw her. She'd been with Matt for 8 months when she noticed something. She was always the one keeping the connection alive. The texts, the weekend plans, the little check-ins, they were all coming from her side. Matt would respond, sure, but there was no initiation, no chase. One night over dinner with her best friend, she said, I just want him to feel about me the way I feel about him. Her friend leaned in and said, then stop making it so easy. So Rachel did something radical, at least for her. She stopped reaching out first. She didn't disappear, she didn't ice him out, she just removed herself from the driver's seat. And here's what happened. For a few days, nothing. Then the little breadcrumbs started. Hey, how's your week on Thursday? You've been quiet on Saturday. By the following week, he was texting in the morning, calling at night, and this is key, planning dates again. You see, the quiet move works not because you're withholding, but because you're inviting. You're inviting him to step into the space you've been occupying alone. And here's where psychology comes in. People value what they earn. If you've been giving attention without him lifting a finger, it's not his fault, he's taken it for granted. It's human nature. But the second he has to work for it, the second he has to wonder, he's emotionally investing again. Now I can already hear the question, but what if I lose him? And my answer is, if quiet, peaceful space is enough to lose him, you never had him. A man who wants you will bridge that space. A man who's just comfortable with what you give will drift until there's nothing left. The quiet move doesn't ruin healthy relationships, it reveals them. There's another layer here that most women miss. It's not just about silence, it's about energy. Because you can stop texting but still be chasing in your energy, still checking his social media, still making decisions based on how he might respond. The real quiet move is internal. It's when your focus shifts back to your own life so fully that he's no longer the sun you orbit. Let's go deeper with this. Imagine you're a man. You've gotten used to a woman's constant warmth, her daily messages, her availability. It's comforting. It's dependable. You don't think about losing it. Why would you? Then one day, without warning, she's still kind, still present when you reach out, but she's no longer there on demand. You have to wait. You have to wonder. You have to think about her, and in that wondering, in that little ache of uncertainty, desire starts to stir again The reason it works is because mystery is magnetic. And mystery doesn't mean playing games or hiding who you are. It means having a life so rich, so full, that he can't see all of it at once. I think of Julia when I say this. Julia was a single mom, busy, grounded, and full of life. When she met Ryan, she liked him instantly, but she made a decision early on. She would not abandon the life she'd built just to fold into his. They saw each other often, but she didn't cancel her book club for him. She didn't skip her weekend hikes. She didn't even answer every call. Sometimes because she was with her son, sometimes because she was in the middle of a good movie. Ryan once told her, "I feel like I'm always chasing you a little, even when you're right here." And that's exactly it. The quiet move isn't cold. It's warm, but it's not all-consuming. It's presence without possession. Women often ask me, "But isn't this just plain hard to get?" No. Plain hard to get is a performance. You're pretending to be busy so he thinks you're valuable. The quiet move is reality. You actually are busy because your life is valuable. Now let's be real. If you're listening to this right now, part of you is thinking about a man in your life. You're wondering if you've been making it too easy, if maybe you've been pouring so much energy into keeping him close that you've left nothing for him to give back. And maybe there's a little fear in that realization, because you know pulling back means seeing the truth of what's there. But here's the thing, when you master this quiet move, you don't just make him obsess over you, you make yourself obsess over your own life again. You start to remember the woman you were before you made someone else the center of your world. And that's when everything shifts. Because men don't just fall for women they like. They fall for women who like themselves. The beauty of the quiet move is that it doesn't require speeches, ultimatums, or drama. You don't need to tell him you're pulling back. You don't need to prove a point. All you need to do is step into your own life so fully that his curiosity does the rest. And when it happens, when that message comes in, when his voice on the phone has that little edge of urgency, you'll know it wasn't an accident. You'll know it was the quiet move, working exactly the way it's supposed to. There's a strange thing that happens when you stop chasing someone. At first, you feel the emptiness, the space where you used to send the good morning text, the space where you used to adjust your plan so he'd feel prioritized, the space where you used to overthink every little signal, and that space can feel like a loss. But give it time, and that same space becomes your power. Because in that space, something starts to grow. Your voice, your desires, your presence, the you that isn't measured by how much you matter to him. And here's the beautiful irony. The more you fill that space with your own life, the more he feels the gap you've left in his. I want you to picture this. A man lying in bed at midnight staring at his phone. For weeks, months maybe, he's known exactly where you are, what you're doing, how you're feeling, because you've told him. Without even asking, he's had access to your inner world. But tonight, he doesn't. You're not angry, you're not posting cryptic quotes. You're just gone from his immediate reach. And now, for the first time in a long time, he's wondering, what is she doing? Who is she with? Why isn't she here like she always is? That wondering is the beginning of obsession. And obsession is not born from constant feeding, it's born from hunger. But here's the part they don't tell you. The quiet move isn't really about him. It's about you reclaiming the version of yourself that existed before you bent your life to fit his. It's about remembering that you are not someone's option, someone's convenience, someone's background comfort. You are the event. You are the destination. And when you live like that, when you walk into a room already whole, men feel it in their bones. because nothing is more intoxicating than a woman who is there by choice, not by need. I think of Alina when I say this. Alina spent 2 years in a relationship where she did everything right, at least by the rules she thought mattered. She was patient, supportive, loving, always available, and yet she always felt like she was waiting for him to fully choose her. She thought the answer was to do more, love harder, give more of herself. But it only made him retreat further. The turning point came on a rainy Tuesday. She'd been waiting all night for him to confirm plans, and when he finally sent a half-hearted rain check, something inside her shifted. She didn't reply right away. In fact, she didn't reply at all that night. She made tea, curled up with a book, and for the first time in months, she felt calm. She told me later, it wasn't about punishing him. It was about realizing I'd been punishing myself, shrinking myself, just to be someone he might want more, and I didn't want to live like that anymore. From that night on, she moved differently. She still cared. She still showed up when it mattered, but she stopped proving herself. And without fanfare, without confrontation, the dynamic changed. He leaned in, he paid attention. He started treating her like she could walk away because now she could. That's the heart of the quiet move. It shifts the balance of power without a single word. It forces him to recognize your value, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. And yes, sometimes when you pull back, the wrong man will fade out completely. Let him. Because if your absence is all it takes to lose him, imagine how fragile your presence was to begin with. But the right man, the man who sees your worth, will feel that space and move toward you, not because he's afraid of losing, but because he knows he's found something rare. So here's what I want you to take from this. The quiet move is not about games. It's not about making him jealous or guessing your every thought. It's about reclaiming your energy so fully that he has no choice but to feel it. It's about living in such a way that even when you're silent, your presence echoes in his mind. Because in the end, obsession isn't built on noise. It's built on the things he can't quite reach, can't quite know, can't quite have all at once. And the woman who understands this, she never has to chase. The most powerful move you will ever make is the one you make in silence. The move where you stop trying to be unforgettable and simply become impossible to replace. And when you do, you won't just have his attention, you'll have his respect. And that, more than anything, is what makes a man stay. The day you stop chasing him is the day he starts chasing the woman you were always meant to be.